cheers to another episode of the Weinnotes Podcast. I'm your guide, AJ Weinzettel, on this journey of stories showcasing the people behind the wonderful world of wine, where we dive into conversations ranging from terroir, viticulture, to favorite music, superpowers, and more. Please enjoy this episode of the Weinnotes Podcast. Travis, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to be here to chat with you.
I am excited as well. I think the last time we got a chance to sit down was like July of 22.
Yes, I think when you came by the vineyard. I think I saw you at a couple of events since then, and then also at dinner. You're randomly getting to sit next to you.
But like to actually sit down and talk, it's been a little while, so I'm looking forward to this.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can I pour us a little bit of a blind wine before we get started?
Let's do it. This is the moment.
Yes. So as I always tell everybody, and I've already told you, you can say whatever you want to. You can say it's yummy. You can say it's yucky. You can say and it's up to you. I always try to find some sort of connection with the wine, with the blind wine. I think I did an okay job here.
Okay.
Not a great job, but an okay job.
Okay. I'm very excited, I guess.
Yes.
And I move forward with slight trepidation in
everybody has that like feeling of like, oh my gosh, what should I do? And I have to tell you, I almost wanted to blind you on some Miller Genuine Draft.
Oh, I feel like I would have nailed that one.
That seemed like MGD played a nice little role in your upbringing and your life a little bit. And I was like, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think I probably could have gotten that one. I don't know if it would have held up in the bottle as long.
I don't know. It's maybe. I have to say, when I opened this about an hour and a half ago, I was like, woof. It's still, I think it still needs some time to open up a little bit, but we'll see if it has any sort of connection when I reveal it at the very end. We'll see what happens.
It's very, very deep nose, and kind of some rose petal. I feel like it's, getting a little bit into the stewed fruit a little bit.
Stewed fruit, yeah. Like if you're reducing,
raspberries for jam or things like that. Okay. It's kind of that like moving into the more, desiccation of fruit as opposed to like fresh cut things. Okay. I try to that's how I try to think of things. Often,
I just never heard of that term, so I was just curious. I'm always over here learning, and I am very fortunate to learn so much from.
Yeah, and I feel like there's that, and then sometimes I think there's some oak integration for sure that is I'm finding my way through. Can I? Do I have to say? Do I have to try and get it right now?
No.
Can I wait and sip on it let it live?
Let it sit and wait, and then when we go to reveal it, if you want to talk about it some more, it's up to you.
Okay, great. It smells delicious. I haven't tasted it yet, but it does smell very good.
Okay. So as you're kind of thinking about that, I mentioned, July 22 was the last time we sat down, and holy cow, a lot has been happening since then. And I have to tell you, I was sitting down with Piper from Pervade, a few weeks ago, and she's like, I was in Utah, and every restaurant that I would go to, Travis was already there. He beat me to it. And it was just funny that, that she told me when she got back, she, emailed you, and it was like, holy cow, you're all over the place in Utah.
Yeah. Utah is a great state for us. I think it's our best state as far as statewide or, nationwide distribution.
Right.
We've done incredibly well in Utah. I think for a couple of reasons. One, my business partner, Chris Andrew, lives in Utah. So we kind of have a boots on the ground person there, which is nice. It has a personal connection, and then, also I think Utah is kind of an overlooked state as far as wine coming into the state, because you've got a much larger amount of control that the state has over it. So the state is actually your distributor. So, okay. And then also, little known fact, every state has different laws coming out of prohibition, which you're probably aware of. But it's, navigating all of these things is a big part that we didn't know anything about when we started. And now we've gotten fairly good at navigating it and, trying to establish relationships and have, good partners in different places. So, but Utah is, I think, an overlooked state because it is kind of a pain. There's more paperwork than other states. So a lot of the smaller people kind of overlook it, I think, because when you're small, you have so many things to do that like another stack of papers is the last thing you want. And that's understandable, but once you do kind of establish yourself there, it's been amazing. So, I think people are very eager in Utah to have things that they haven't seen yet. So, when I hear about people wanting to, touch into Utah, and start pushing in there, I'm pro, going for it because it's a very neat state. There's a lot of different things going on. This food scene there is becoming amazing. Siegfried's downtown is like one of my favorite places to eat in the world. It's a hot dog place. It's not a hot dog place. They'll probably be mad at me. It's a sausage place. It's a German sausage place. Ooh. So if you ever go, right. I feel like it'd be up your alley. It's I would be right there. It's amazing. So big shout out to Siegfried's. And then, there's just a really good burgeoning scene of people interested in drinks, interested in food, and the whole dining aspect, I think, is like a really up and coming thing. We got a friend, Kevin Finch, who is there. He's the chef. He worked at Atelier Cren. He's a good friend of ours. I hope to see big things from him in the future. And Water Witch is an amazing little bar that was a James Beard nominated place that's like out of nowhere was a James Beard nominated drinks. I don't remember the exact accolade that they got, but that's a great place. Nome is another place that's right next door. Anyways, just there's some cool things going on in Utah. And then you've also got a lot of resorts up in the Park City area, places that you get a lot of people interacting with, but they might not actually be from Utah. And so we try to find places like that as well, where you're going to be in a place where people maybe are coming to visit. Montana's another example. Like nobody's from Montana, right. And so when we try to think about where we're going to be on, first of all, we try to have a personal connection with those places in the first place. And then after that, trying to figure out where would be good to get in front of new people, because we don't have an advertising budget. We don't have, right. Yeah. We've just got to be good and, delicious and great people, and try to be good partners with the people that are excited about us. So,
and you're definitely doing a good job on being delicious and good and
Thanks.
Personable and approachable and all of it. So it's been fun, but let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go way back a little bit. North Carolina, growing up in the South, your mom worked all the time. You're a latchkey kid. I don't know if you know this or not, but, in grade school, I was also in North Carolina.
No, I didn't know that.
I did. And I was also a latchkey kid. So I want to share a story of me being a latchkey kid, and I'm just curious if you have any stories yourself.
All right.
So I had this friend. His name was Robert. It's summer. You get bored when you're just kind of like at home all alone. And all of a sudden, I get a knock on the door, and it was Robert. And he's like, "Let me in." I'm like, "Okay." And then he, was looking out the window, and he's like, at the overpass, I threw rocks onto the cars down on the interstate, and this car's coming after me. I need to hide. And I'm like, oh crap. And, we thought we were being all sneaky and everything, just kind of like peeping our heads, kind of looking out the window, but, trying to not look out the window. And of course, the car is like, oh, there's two little kids like peeping their heads out. So he got in big trouble for throwing rocks on the cars down below. So that's my little story of
Okay.
latchkey kid.
You were the accessory. You hid the suspect.
I did.
Well, I hope that whoever that is doesn't come all the way to Oregon to find you after all these years.
I hope not.
Yeah, we could have been latchkey kids together. You know, it seems like we all banded together at those stages of our lives anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was. I loved growing up in North Carolina. Before I had moved to Montana, I'd only lived in North Carolina. I'd never lived anywhere else. So, growing up on the kind of coastal North Carolina was awesome. I mean, we got to go on the river all the time. We didn't have a boat, but friends had boats. So, things like that. If I could think of a story of being a latchkey kid that being at home alone. First of all, I'm surprised that you let someone in, because that was a no-no. You know what I mean? That was a big no-no. But we had a great neighborhood. I think the reason that my mom moved us into the neighborhood that we ended up in was because it was, number one, we could ride our bikes to school, and number two, the other kids that were in that neighborhood also rode their bikes to school. So we had it was in this area called Old Town in New Bern, North Carolina. And we called it the Old Town Posse. And it was like, we would all meet up at the circle at the end, and then we would all ride our bikes together like a posse, I mean, it was really fun, and it was a good upbringing in that way. And we just always were playing outside with those other folks, There were a couple people whose moms didn't work that were in the neighborhood, so they kind of became like defunct moms in our lives. And, we were really blessed in that way. There's a lot of things that I could complain about, but as far as how my day-to-day went in the afternoons, it was really pretty good. We of course would get ourselves into trouble. Used to make these movies with like G.I. Joe men and fireworks with this kid named Raymond Dunn, who I think lives in Japan now. But anyway, it was just a really fun thing. We always tried not to set things on fire that were going to burn down the house. And, that was the main thing. It was like, I was mainly outside because I didn't want to get in trouble for letting people in our house. Like, it was like, parents aren't home. You can't, nobody's in here. Of course we would break the rules every once in a while.
Of course, now and then.
But being outside in that neighborhood was more fun than being in my house and
of course,
sitting around, you know what I mean?
Right.
Sneaking away to drink beers by the rocks, or do whatever you do when you're in high school. I think I have a theory that everybody hates wherever they grew up in high school, because it's like you can't really do anything. You're adult enough, but you're not really, and you can't do anything. I have that theory. It's like, where did you grow up? And I look back now, I'm like, actually, it was great. It was amazing. That was a great place to be. But when you're that age, you're like, okay. I'll tell you another quick story. When we had a friend who was like kind of got in trouble a lot, and he went up. We were on the boat, and we went up, and he went up to steal some cigarettes. We were gonna like ride around and smoke cigarettes, because we were 15 or whatever. And so stupid. And so anyway, he went up there to steal some cigarettes, and then he didn't come back down to the dock where we were. And so we're sitting there, and we're like, man, I'm not gonna say his name, but I was like, man, what happened? He's not back yet. We're sitting there. We had gassed up the boat, and so we like, let's go walk up and look for him. We'll just pretend like we're browsing through the store, and we got on like life jackets and just bathing suit. And we walk up, and this kid is there, and his dad's there. Uh-oh. And basically what had happened was they caught him, and they were like, do you want us to call the cops or your dad? And he was like, the cops. And they were like, we're going to call your dad. So anyway, he came, and then he made him, this is such a bad story. You may want to get rid of this one, but his dad made him eat the cigarettes. He was like, oh, dang. He was like, you have to eat them. And I'll never, ever forget, like, we got up there, like, as this was commencing, and he was eating the first cigarette, and like got down to the end, and his dad looks at him and is like, you don't have to eat the filter. Thank God. And he looks up and he goes, thanks, Dad. And we were like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then he was like, his dad left and was like, enjoy yourself the rest of the day. And he just threw up all day long. It was like, it was one of those things. It was like, this is insane.
That's a life lesson
Anyway,
right there.
yeah.
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 But that's a great story.
That's a slightly debaucherous story, but it was like growing up on the river, and being with friends. You go through different things together. It wasn't exactly like a Stand By Me moment or anything like that, but it was definitely a coming of age. Like, oh, okay, man, don't get in trouble. Not with that guy's dad, at least. So
Yeah, no, that would be bad. I couldn't even imagine having to eat a cigarette.
yeah, gross.
Yeah.
Now we drink wine and we're like, tobacco notes.
Yeah, I think I'll pass.
Yeah, it changes.
Well, it depends.
It changes things now. Yeah, you hear that story, you're like, oh, actually, I don't think I want to drink this.
Yes. So you mentioned, Montana. I know that your mom, moved from North Carolina
Yep.
to Montana, and the Yellowstone Club. This is like a crazy, amazing spot for you, right? She ends up getting you a job there.
Yep.
You end up meeting, Tess, your wife.
Yep.
You end up meeting Andrew, right? That's
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was.
We're both people that have first names or
Yes.
two first names. So
Sorry, I messed that one up.
that's okay.
I do have it written down here. I'm just curious. Do you ever go back to the Yellowstone Club just for fun and to visit?
We got to make a lot more money if we're going back for fun. I can tell you that. We had a lot more wine to sell to get into that echelon. But no, we do get back there to Montana. I was there 2 weeks ago. We sell wine in Montana through George's Distributing, who was, it's an honor to get to work with them because they were my favorite distributor when I was buying wine in Montana. They did an amazing work on helping educate me, answering questions that they didn't need to answer. It was just such a wonderful company that when we were going to go back and sell wine in Montana, it was like, this is the only people I feel like I really want to work with. Of course, I mean, I'm not to say that we wouldn't have worked with anyone else, but it was definitely like, I remembered how much George's did for me. And I knew that if they were that good to me as a client of theirs, as a buyer, that we would be in good hands because it's one of those relationships where you kind of put yourself in their hands and you're like, you don't want to be just like, oh, we sold you the wine. It's your problem now. See you later. Right. You want people that are going to put you in the right places and listen to the restaurant or retail outlet that you have. So anyway, so to get back to your original question, yes, I do go back there. And it's funny, after I did the Som TV podcast, one of my old coworkers texted me and was like, dude, you're famous. One of my Soms listened to you on this podcast. But the place has grown so incredibly crazy. Like there were 300 members when I was there, and there's 900 now. Wow. So it's completely different than when I was there. I was there just out of they had a bankruptcy from, you should just Google that. That's a much more fun thing to do than me tell you the story. And I don't know all of the details, but I kind of came in post a lot of tumult, and then, ended up being in charge of the wine program in a way that was, very happenstance, but I was interested in it and took to it. So, the last time I went up there was a year ago. I went up to the actual Yellowstone Club was a year ago, and tasted with Ben, who's a guy that works there. Anyway, Ben Foster. So that was really fun. It was really, really meaningful to bring the wines back to the place where I had fell in love with this. I mean, it was like literally the culmination of, right. It's the thing that spun me into this world, the orbit. I used the moon to slingshot back to the earth, right. So it was pretty neat, and really, really fun. But I getting to go back now to Montana is really fun because I do miss it a lot. If you could grow grapes there, I probably would have stayed, but
that would be kind of hard.
Yes, there are some grapes that are growing there.
Okay.
But I think in terms of what we wanted to make and what I wanted to do, Oregon was just the answer, like almost immediately.
Of course. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Did I answer your question? I feel like
I totally did.
I rambled for quite some time.
No, you did. And, another thing that the Yellowstone Club did was, like, you fell in love with the 2007 Oregon Pinot Noirs.
Yep.
And what was it? Like, what was that trigger that was like, ooh, wow, this is amazing?
It was when you're selling a lot of wine, you get to taste a lot of different things. I think you can kind of get into a rut and you're like, okay, this tastes, a certain way. And when I started getting to taste Oregon wines, especially from the 2007 vintage, I'm going to give like all the credit to the guy that bought all that wine. His name was John McCune. So wherever John McCune is, thank you, because what he had bought years before informed my palate for the future. So, you kind of think about these things how you get imprinted upon. It was from a guy that I'd never met. And I think that was like part of what I thought was really cool about being in a wine cellar. It was like, man, somebody like thought about these and, collected this for the future, especially in a place like that where they've got buying power to have things around that might be there for 30 years, Not every restaurant has things like that, Usually it's like, oh, this is good. How much do you have of it? Send it to me on Thursday or whatever, So it was like really, I felt a reverence of being in the wine cellar of like, and then go one step further outside of that. Somebody thoughtfully curated this, and then to think that every single bottle has a story and a person, and a team of people probably that worked on it and worked hard to get it into the bottle for just that one vintage. And I mean, right. Just like, it's kind of like the world exploding, universes, multiverses going out forever while I'm just standing in this room that's worth millions of dollars, So that was kind of interesting. Hold on. What was the original question?
Oh, it was just talking about the 2007 Pinot Noir.
Oh, yeah. How did I get... So, Oregon. So, yeah. So, I started finding these wines that were like, from the 2007 vintage. And, it was... I was tasting things. They felt like they had more nuance. They felt like they had, an energy that was there that's really difficult to put your finger on. And it was just, maybe it was because they were so different stylistically than like maybe some stuff from California or Pinot Noir from other places. That's what captured me. It was like, oh, this is different. This is nuanced. This is beautiful. This is delicate. And I felt like they went with food so well. And that was a big piece for me, was how the kind of acid profile of Oregon wines lines up and allows the food to shift and move a little bit. And that's something that I chase when I'm making wine is, getting that acid structure, or volume of acid to be at a place where the food has some interplay where, right. That's just something that I sought out. And wines that I loved from, all over the world that have that kind of profile. It isn't just like, I only like Oregon wine, but that was the thing that really got me on it. And it was, 2007 was a vintage that was kind of panned by critics. 2011, very similar. When the wines came out, they're like, I don't know what to think about this. And I think now people really like those classic Oregon vintages because they have that ageability and that like delicacy and nuance, and it kind of still shifts and changes in the bottle for quite some time. So I still have a lot of 2011s from when I worked Harvest in 2014 that I went and bought a bunch of, and still have them. And my wife Tess is like, "You need to hurry up and drink. Like we got to start drinking these." Well, yeah. And I'm like, it's the only one I have left. It's like,
yeah, no, they're so good.
We continually talk about wanting to have a 2011s dinner because we have a bunch of 2011s and then just invite a bunch of people over, and then we just never do it because it's hard to stop going sometimes.
Yeah, that would be hard.
But that's what drew me to Oregon originally in my thoughts. And then after I came here, it was the community that was like, oh, well, this is where it's going to be. This is where we're going to go. So,
yeah, no, that makes sense. And, two quick things. I think Tess probably wants to get rid of the 2011s because she's not a big old Pinot Noir fan. She likes those young Pinots, if I remember correctly.
You remember exactly correctly. She would drink it off the spout at the bottling line, I think, if we let her. Yeah, and I think that also knowing that helps me think about how we want to make our wines also, because, people will ask sometimes, should I sit on this? When should I drink it? And, my answer as a fledgling winery is hurry up and drink it, because we got to sell you more. No, I'm just kidding. You don't know if people like old wines sometimes. So right. I really try hard to make wines that are going to be delicious whenever you open them, but have a backbone of acidity that allows for ageability. So I do thoughtfully try to construct the wines and treat them in a way while during fermentation that's going to make for like really fresh fruit in the as it's young and like it's delicious now. But I do want it to be able to age. And we're so young now that I can't really say that I'm successful at that yet, because we'll see what happens. But I do think when there's things that where we leave if you leave it in the bottle, or you're trying things, lasting over a couple of days, seeing how it evolves, there's ways to know if you're on the right track at least. So I do try to make them with Tess, my wife, in mind, so that she'll like it also, but then I can enjoy it later if we save it. But as a starting business, you rarely have any of your original wines left around, because you want the money.
Yes, I do have to say I have one of your 2019 Syrahs in my
cool
in my cellar. It's just sitting there. It's just going to wait.
All right. Well, I sure hope it's good when you drink it.
I'm sure it is.
You have. I don't even know if I think maybe we have like 3 or 4 bottles left of the 2019 vintage that we had, because we sold them all.
And talking about your Syrah, and you're talking about, making your wine, for food and everything. One of the things I really love about the Syrah is you said I made it to pair with salmon.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be further from the truth.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I think that it has a lot to do with where it grows also, right. In the Columbia Gorge, because I think when you look at domestic Syrah, and where it's planted, and, what places have made a name for themselves already. You've got Walla Walla, you've got a lot in California as well. The proximity to the Columbia River, for the Pines Vineyard or Lewis Vineyard, which are, kind of neighbors, that's what drives that wine. And I think it would be very hard. I wouldn't want to say, hey, I'm trying to make a Syrah that pairs with salmon and get things from somewhere else. Right. I think it's like finding the sites that give you the tools to make the thing that you want is the more important piece. Mm-hmm. If you want to make a more extracted or heavier body wine, then you should find a place that gives you that, right, as opposed to trying to manhandle something in a certain direction. And so that's kind of, I appreciate that that we've, hit the nail on the head with it, but I also have to give a lot of credit to the farming that's going on, and, where, finding a site that gives us the opportunity to do that. I think that's probably the bigger piece, but yeah, that was always the goal. I had a guy that tasted, I did a pairing for a guy when I was at the Yellowstone Club, and I came back with the bottle. I might have told this story to you before, but
is it going to be a Gregory Ranch Chardonnay?
No.
Okay.
But I brought this bottle, and he had salmon, and he was like, "Hey, this isn't something that I would normally pair," and I was like, "Well, you should try."
Right, of course. You gotta be willing to try a little bit.
If not, I'll figure out something else and we'll bring you something else. So anyway, came back and he was really excited about it. So it was a Northern Rhone Syrah, and I've just always tried to think of things like that in terms of like finding wines that give you motivation or inspiration of like, man, I want to do something like that one day. I want to give the feeling to the guest, right, that this seems like it might not work, but it does, and that aha moment of wow is really, really fun. And having served wine all over the place, that's like, right, those are the things that are really exciting, that I get really, really excited about, and it brings a piece to the like to the why are we doing this? It brings a big part of, wanting to please somebody sitting at the table is a big piece of what we want to do. One of our goals is to extend the average dinner by an hour. So, we want you to we want you to pull another cork. We want you to, have another bottle, tell another story, be around people that you love. That's why wine's amazing. It's a very communal thing. You pull a cork, you're sharing with people. It's not a single serve,
Right.
This is hey, we're gonna sit and have dinner, and this is gonna be fun and enjoy ourselves. And that's part of what we are and what we want to do.
Exactly. And you have been kind of working in the beverage industry for a while. And one of the things I came across was, you noticed like about how long it would take for a person to drink a glass of beer, about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for somebody to like drink a glass of wine?
That's a good question. I think it's very different because I think it depends on how much you're pouring. How are you trying to spread the bottle around the whole table?
Right.
How is this going to go? So you've got those types of things. And I think, those volumes are different. A beer comes in like, it's like, here's 12 ounces, here's a bottle of beer. This is how long this takes. A pint, a little bit longer, maybe. Yeah. So wine is harder, I think, because I think you're usually doing it with food, right. Or at least most of my experience is serving wine with food. So,
yeah, and it depends if the people are with
some people are like want to quaff and sip on it forever. Like this is going to take an hour, or some people want to. Some people are not thinking about the wine at all. They're just like,
right.
It's just a beverage, which is also fine. Just as long as you're enjoying it.
That is all that matters.
Yeah. So I think wine is a harder economy of time question.
I thought so too, but I was just curious if you had like a magical answer.
No. I think the magical answer as far as service goes is like just continuing to be around the table and being able to provide somebody more if they want it. And I always thought about it when I was working the floor. If I could kind of float around and handle wine service for places for people. If I could float around in different spots in the restaurant and give whoever the server was a little bit more time, that was always really, really nice. And, that way you're not just, now, and also let me clarify that, like, I was never polished enough to, like, really be headed the somm route. Like, if you can't tell, I don't like to shave, I was never as there are a lot of people that are better than me, but I did have, I did want to get after it and learn as much as I could. Right. And as soon as I started learning about, how to make wine, it was like, I'm out. That's the thing I'm going to do.
Right. You were saying earlier that you did, was it Oregon Pinot Camp in 2014?
Yep. Oregon Pinot Camp. Yeah. So I came out in 2014. And just, what an amazing event, Right. I can't wait to get to the stage where we can participate as well, when we make enough wine to be able to do things like that, because it's such a cool opportunity. And I used to joke all the time that Pinot Camp was, the best billboard for more people that wanted to work in the industry than it was. More people were moving here after going to Pinot Camp, being like, I want to move here and work in this. It's like, no, wait, we need you to sell wine out there. That's the whole point of this. It's like that, and I think that really speaks to how incredibly cool Oregon is. And I meet people all the time who are like, I went to Pinot Camp, right. That are out here now, which is amazing. And I just think it speaks volumes. I think there was an unwritten or unsung benefit, or like a hidden benefit of Pinot Camp is that people also want to be part of the community because it's so amazing. And I think that's yes, we want to show how amazing it is so that people could go back to their home markets and be good advocates for Oregon wine. Right. But at the same time, there are people that move here like I did, because they saw the vision and the dream, and it feels possible here. It's not like, things aren't so cost prohibitive that you can't start a winery with no money, like we did.
Right, exactly. And you had a conversation with your wife, Tess, and it kind of went something like, okay, well, if you could go wherever that you wanted to make wine, where would it be? And you immediately said Oregon.
Right away.
And it seemed like immediately Tess was like, all right, let's go and let's do it.
Totally. Yeah. I was not expecting that from her, to be honest with you.
Right.
I just was like, well, first of all, that was a great question for her to ask while I was like, weaning myself off of being up later than, I don't know, normal people. Normal people in restaurants are like, no, that's just normal time. But, when you're coming home later in the evening, things like that. It was, she was like, if you want to figure out what to do, then like, I'm here to help you do that and whatever it might be. We didn't have this conversation. She just said, well, what would you do? What would you do if you could do anything? When she said that, I said, I would go make wine in Oregon. And she literally looked right at me and said, well, let's go do that. So she started applying for jobs and got the first one she applied for. And 2 months later, we moved.
Yeah. And so that's where I know Tess from, right? She got that job at Domaine Serene.
Yep.
And, I always heard that she was married to a winemaker, this mythical winemaker. And it's like, okay, sure. No, I knew that you existed, but just...
Well, I think at that time I was just working in the cellar, so I would think I was
right.
Air quote making wine, but I did not have the title of winemaker at that time. I was just working in the cellar and trying to absorb as much knowledge as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've worked at Dobbs, and and now you're farming, Gregory Ranch and getting wine or fruit from there, for De La Boue. And Gregory Ranch, like, how did that come about? Because when you were at the Yellowstone Club, one of the first Chardonnays that you poured, I think it was a Bergstrom Chardonnay.
Yep.
From Gregory Ranch.
Totally.
So did you purposely go to Gregory Ranch, or how did that happen?
No, it was a really interesting way that happened, and I feel like we've had a lot of serendipitous type events happen for us. I guess first let me clarify. I farmed Vista Grande, which is a different vineyard.
Sorry.
And Gregory Ranch is farmed. I think Results farms it. So, but anyway. Aside from that, I just don't want to take credit for all the good work that they're doing out there, because it's immaculately farmed. It really is. It's a really wonderful site. So to go back, I guess one of the first Oregon Chardonnays that I ever poured when I was at the Yellowstone Club was getting to taste things, and I knew different profiles of different wines, and especially if you'd think about the generic private club Chardonnay. I'll just let people go ahead and have their own assumptions, but we're all probably thinking about one of three things. So when George's Distributing brought some wines to taste, it was like, oh, this is different, and it was food friendly and had acid and nuance, and was a little bit more in the leaner, more in the citrus kind of fruits, rather than really heavy tropical stuff. So that was the first Oregon Chardonnay that I'd ever had, and it was amazing. And so then fast forward years later, right? Almost 10 years later, Bergstrom, I think, was moving to estate only, and so after 2019 was the last year they were producing Gregory Ranch, I think. If you know Josh, you should ask him. I don't. But anyway, I saw that the fruit was becoming available. I just saw that there was some Pinot Noir available, so I called Dr. Gregory, and we hadn't even sold a bottle of wine yet. We had made the 2019 vintage, and then this is March-ish of 2020, maybe March, April, right. And I saw the fruit was available, and the pandemic had just started. I think someone else was going to step in and take the whole vineyard, and then the uncertainty around the pandemic happened. So anyway, it opened up an opportunity for us, and I called him and I said, look, I can't buy an entire vineyard worth, but I would love to get a couple of tons. Like I poured Gregory Ranch Pinot at the Yellowstone Club. We had that, so I knew the site,
Right.
and then he said, well, there's a little bit of Chardonnay also. Would you be interested in any of that? And I was like, I could care less about the Pinot at this stage. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. So, I don't know what volume of it went into, Old Stones, if any, but it was one of those pieces that was like, hey, you have no reason to really want to sell me any fruit. I'm unproven completely. I hadn't even sold a bottle of wine yet. We had made some wine, but it had only been in the barrel for 6 months. Right. We weren't really sure, but I was like, I can't pass up the opportunity to get that. And so, yeah, we bought 2 tons of Chardonnay and 2 tons of Pinot Noir from Gregory Ranch in 2020. And then, as we all know, many more things happened in 2020 that were unfortunate for sure.
Yes.
But we stuck with it, and we had picked the Chardonnay before the fires started. In case anybody's curious, that's what I'm talking about with 2020. Before the fires had started, and the Pinot we picked after. And I think that's it was a difficult thing to go through, number one. Right. But I didn't want to walk away from it. Chris and I talked and was like, what do we do? I mean, I think everybody has their 2020 story of like, what are we going to actually do?
Right.
Oh no. You know what I mean?
That's a tough decision to make.
I mean, I can't knock anybody for any decisions that they made. I can only speak to what we thought. Right. And my thought here is like, it might happen again. We should get some intel. We're going to go for it regardless. So we bought fruit. We paid full price. We still, we didn't want to like leave the farmer, out in the cold. And, so we just went for it, and on top of that, it was like, I was this close to getting to the dream. You know what I mean? It was like, we had made 150, 200 cases in 2019, committed to get up to 500 cases, in our production, and basically took all of the money that we made from selling wine to put into the new vintage. Right. So it was like, let's try, at least. And if it's not good, we won't release it. And that's kind of what we said. It was like, I'm this close to going full time, to do this. This is an amount of wine that we can sell that I can like float it and pay myself a little bit, maybe, or at least getting closer to where we want to be. So, I'm really proud that we did it, and I think the wines are delicious. And of course, there's a stigma around them, but in the reality of the world, I think you tasted some of them. I did. I think in the reality of the world, I was able to make a different decision than a lot of other people made because we only made 500 cases. So, selling 500 cases of wine, even with a stigma of wildfire around it, is much easier than selling 10,000. So, I think, and our biggest supporters supported us through it. People that were on our mailing list from the very get-go, and the wines were delicious. And I think that leads to another point that's like, if you're going to make wine, my job as the winemaker is to take what nature gives us and then make it taste delicious to you. And if there's other things there that are not normally there, I don't think I just tried really, really hard to get those things to knit together in a way that was delicious. I think that's my job as the winemaker.
It is.
And so, I say that now all in hindsight, having sold the wine, and like, I do think it was good, but we had people, we definitely had distributors and people who were like, we're just not going to take any 2020s, which was really sad because I think if you taste the wine on its merits, our wines, I think, were good. Now, I think there are also wines in the world that were like really very much more heavily affected than we were. I think we ended up in an incredibly lucky spot with Vista Grande and Gregory Ranch both. Right. So we lucked out also. Let's not overlook that there's a little bit of luck there. But I am really pumped that we did that. And the wines that we sent to future distribution partners were 2020 wines, and they tasted them, and they were like, if this is what you can do with 2020, then we're on board. So we ended up, it was very stressful because I had kind of just quit my job when we were selling those. So it was like in 2022, I think. I kind of, now it's all running together. I'm not sure exactly, but I feel like the first year that I was like full on going for it was like selling those wines, which was difficult.
And if you can sell those, everything else.
Yeah, and it was great. And I think, it gave us the opportunity to continue. And like, we just try to think of it as like, how do we earn the right to keep going? That's really, I think that's like, all winemakers are just trying to do that, especially, you've got to sell enough to be able to sustain yourself and keep going. I think winemakers usually, put most of their money back into the thing that they're doing. You know what I mean? It's never windfall amounts of money. It's like, man, I made enough money to now I can buy this one thing, a truck or a piece of machinery that helps me, or like cuts down a cost somewhere else, or maybe we could buy a destimmer or a steam cart that like I was talking to Grant and Renee from 100 Sons, recently in the last year, and we were laughing about like not having to borrow something. It was like they were like, we got a steam cart this year. We don't have to borrow someone's steam cart. For those of you listening, a steam cart is something that helps you clean barrels or tanks. But anyway, it was we all have those same things, and I really look up to them in a huge way, because they're a couple years ahead of where we are. And that's what Grant said the first time I ever met him. I was like, hey man, I'd love to sit down and grab a beer with you sometime. And he's like, yeah, sure. If we're ever not busy enough.
They are.
And I think all of us chasing that thing are doing the same thing. And anyway, it's just refreshing to see. There's like, you see that people can do it, which is a great inspiration.
It is, and when I sat down with Grant and Renee a couple months ago, I always ask the question, when I have the husband and wife team,
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Tess isn't here, so it's not exactly fair, but to put you on the spot a little bit, if, let's say it's the middle of the night, and you get a telephone call, and it's Tess, and she's been arrested. What crime has she committed?
Oh my God. The real crime would be that she wasn't asleep at like 9 o'clock, I think. What crime would Tess be arrested for? Dude, I don't know. She's like a saint, what crime? Like, it wouldn't be public intoxication.
No.
I don't think.
No.
I guess if I'm getting called in the middle of the night, I'd be surprised that she was, didn't go to sleep before me first. What would Tess be in trouble for?
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know.
I know her a teeny bit. I'm like, I don't know. She seems pretty cut straight and.
Yeah, she's. It would have to be some sort of like misunderstanding. I feel like.
I'm sure.
It would be like, no, you don't understand. I feel like she would be trying to help someone.
Right.
That was like.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like if I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she's out with a group of friends or whatever. And
yeah.
Like wrong place.
Someone was about to get in a fight, and then she stepped in. I don't know. Yeah, she's not a fighter. I don't know. That's a hard question. You're asking the hard questions out here, AJ. That's
I try really hard.
That's a pretty interesting one. I'm certain that she would have much better success asking her that story.
Well, what would she say?
I don't know, because I don't know what she would say. Okay. She would. I would love to hear it. Actually, I would feel like if we could do a follow-up interview with Tess and ask her that question. I don't want to reveal too much about my life, but she's going to give you a great answer. Okay. We should have made her come. That would have been so much better.
That would have been fun. maybe there's some Miller Genuine Draft involved or something.
Probably. I don't know. I feel like with drinking, I was always like pretty responsible. Right. But like, I've definitely gotten in stupid trouble.
Yeah, we all have
more than once. Yes,
Yeah. Well, a little bit.
There's a better story that could be told about that. That is not going to happen right now.
Okay, that's fair. Well, here's an easier question
Okay.
for you. So in 2019, you produced around 200 cases of wine, and in 2022 it was around 1,300. What is 2023 looking like as far as case production?
About 2,500.
Wow,
Yeah, pretty crazy.
that is crazy.
Taking on farming has given us a little bit more fruit. That's allowed us to scale. We added on a couple other vineyard sites. Temperance Hill, we make wine from now. That came about and started in 2021. 2023, also, we are working with Woodhall Vineyard, which is the Oregon State research vineyard.
Oh, very nice.
So they've got a 30-year rootstock trial that's been going on. And luckily enough, one of my former interns is the vineyard manager now. So,
nice.
it's one of those kind of things. Like, as you keep going, you want to work with people that you like, and that was one of those happy accidents that was like just catching up with a friend and.
That's great.
Hey, do you want the fruit from here? This is available, and I think it's really awesome to get to work with the school. I mean, I didn't go to school for winemaking, chemistry, any of that stuff. I've gleaned a lot of information from people that are a lot smarter than me, and been able to use the Oregon State extension services, which are amazing. I mean, it's like it's unreal how much support they provide to people. And so until we can be big enough to give research grants, for now we'll buy fruit from the vineyard that helps that research go on. So, and I think that's really important because we can't just want to make wine and chase this thing forever. We all want to be getting better at it.
Of course.
I think everybody has that, or at least the peers that I have in the winemaking community are always wanting to get better. And you never have all the answers. So, that's a really important thing. So I'm really proud that we get to work with Justin and the Oregon State team. So, and like the work Patty Skinkis does, I've read so many papers. I've looked at so many things that have come out of these studies, and been able to glean information from them. And it's amazing that that's provided for us. I mean, it really is just an incredible piece of taxpayer money that helps that helps us.
Right. I mean,
it's really amazing.
It's being a small business, and that's what you are. I mean, it's a struggle, and then you put in Mother Nature into that variable, and it's even a bigger struggle.
Yeah, it's wild. So I'm very thankful for all the work that gets done there. It's really amazing, and it's important. And I really hope that we're able to continue to not only work with the vineyard, but participate in research and continually give back to more people, because that information is out there. And it's just a special thing that's provided for us, and I think we're lucky to have it. So, and then let's see what other, and then we are getting a little bit of fruit from Beezy Vineyard, which is up on the Eola Amity Hills area. That's an amazing vineyard. I got a phone call from Kenny from Arabilis one morning and asking if I wanted some Pinot Blanc. And anyway, it worked out. I got some Pinot Blanc, and then a week later, I ended up getting some Pinot Noir too. So, and then coming 2024, we're going to work with them for a little bit more fruit also. So a little more Pinot Noir, which is super exciting. So
That is super exciting.
Yeah, try to grow. A lot of this growth has been really, really good, but we've also just been trying to grow very responsibly and not run out of money. I don't know how else to say it. We try to be thoughtful, in not being, incredibly well funded from the get go. We've just tried to be really thoughtful in how we're growing and trying to find distribution partners that can help us. Our direct to consumer, avenue is really good. We've got a wait list right now. We're trying to make everybody happy, and be able to still be in the restaurants and shops that we want to be in, where people are advocating for us, right, outside of the state of Oregon, but then also have a small thriving community of people that are excited about what we're doing here is amazing as well as well as nationwide. I mean, It's really that's a big piece And I think for you to be a successful business, both sides need to be healthy. I don't think if you chase only DTC, you know, I just think you have to pay attention to all these things. It's not just one or the other. And I grew up, you know, when I was learning about wine, I was learning about wine from people in wine shops. You know, I was going in and saying, I don't know that much, but I'm interested in learning. Can you talk to me about these things? And finding things along the journey of kind of your the odyssey of wine is like, you know, I think those things are important. And I don't want to lose those types of connections. You know, we started having people, you know, come out and visit us that had our wine in a restaurant somewhere.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. I mean, that's like a really neat thing, you know. So trying to embrace things like that and you know, keep those commitments up. But yeah, it's just really fun. It's really fun to see that. You know, when you start making wine, you're like, I want to make wine, and you don't think about all the other stuff. You know, you've got to be able to sell it. You've got to be able to get it in front of people. You know, you've got to be in the hands of people that are excited about you. And so that's that's just something that we really try to think of.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I didn't know that you and Kenny, you know, knew one another. So I'm great at starting rumors.
Okay.
So in 2030, De La Boue is coming out with a Blanc de Noir.
Well, you know what? It's going to be sooner than 2030 because
Awesome.
I'm already working with Kenny.
That's great.
Yeah, really excited about it. And he was you know, the first guy I called because he's the like. I don't know if are people officially calling him Dr. Bubbles now? Because I'm going to start. I'd love to be known as the guy that gave that nickname to Kenny.
There we go. Yes. I mean, he has a freaking PhD in sparkling.
Exactly. I mean, it's like we're going. Dr. Bubbles has to be his name, right?
Bubbles, yes.
So he and I, you know, I chatted with him because Vista Grande is a really high up elevation and tilts a little bit north. So there's like a spot in the vineyard that really almost never gets that ripe.
Right.
And so, you know, in 2022 we had frost, so that block was like pretty decimated. So 2023 is like, oh, there's a lot of fruit here. It's like making up for it, you know. Vines have a tendency to do that sometimes. And, you know, I'm looking at it, and I'm a guy that's farming this myself. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to like drop fruit? You know, or how are we going to get this ripe? And I just thought, you know what, like we should the vineyard is giving us the opportunity to make sparkling. We should take the opportunity to make sparkling. Now, am I going to be a sparkling producer every year? I don't think so. You know, I think it's just got to be the right conditions, and we should listen to what the fruit wants us to do with it, as opposed to, you know, like I said earlier, like manhandling it into something that it doesn't already want to be. And like, it's like, dude, this block wants to be sparkling. Like, it's kind of in the shade. It's like, let's do it, you know. And so we're gonna have Blanc de Noir, so Pinot Noir, but there's at Vista Grande there's like 82 Chardonnay plants. So we picked all of those. So there'll be like, I don't know what the volume is, maybe 3%, maybe probably less than that. But
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's gonna be really, really great. So I called Kenny like middle of the year, and was like, hey, you know, he's invested in the machinery and all of that stuff. So I was like, hey, are you taking clients, or like, could you help me?
Right.
You know, it was much more of a friendly conversation than like a business conversation. It was like, I think that's what's going on with this block, and I think it'd be really cool. And he said, you know, you're already thinking about it the right way, starting in the vineyard, you know, rather than, hey, I have these grapes, should we make bubbles? It's like, farm it in that way, push it in that direction, let it go in that direction, and then he's like, I will absolutely help you. And so he's taking us on as a client, and
So 2028.
2028. Well, I guess 23 vintage, so it would be released in 26, 27?
Yeah, it just depends on how long you...
Yeah, I guess it depends. We don't know yet.
Okay.
Under Kenny's watchful eye, we'll continue to ask him questions. But I do think I had finished sparkling wine before that was made by someone else that we inherited. So I had done that part, but I hadn't gone from the beginning ever. So, you know, if you know, anybody that knows me would say, like, I will kind of tread lightly until I want to understand it as well as I possibly can.
Of course.
And so, you know, thank you, Kenny, for answering so many questions. You know, and so anyway, I'm really excited about
I'm excited.
Bubbles. I'm excited you started a rumor that was already true.
I love it.
It's going to be great.
Well,
Or if it never comes out, you'll know that I ruined it, and and you'll never hear about it again. So we'll find out. But
we'll find out. I start a lot of rumors. So
I think it's going to be great because when we first started working with Vista Grande, it was like, man, this site would be incredible for sparkling wine.
Right.
But, there's a large monetary commitment to do it. And, to be honest, if we weren't farming that vineyard ourselves and getting some of that fruit, we would never be able to kick that cost,
Right.
variable. We could never have started doing that. So I commend anyone that's starting with bubbles. It's a long commitment and, a difficult one.
It is.
But, I think it pays off incredibly. Look at Dan and Jean, they've got their new place.
They got their new place. I can't wait to take a look at that.
I know. I'm supposed to pick up my shipment, but I'm going to be gone.
I want to be gone too.
Which is unfortunate, but we'll get up there sometime.
Yeah. I'm going on May 9th.
Oh, cool.
I think so. May 9th. It's sometime in May.
Sometime in May. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a couple of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And then we'll reveal the wine and get you out of here.
Okay.
All right. Favorite artist to listen to during harvest?
Oh, man, that's hard. Dwight Yoakam.
Okay. Your favorite indulgent food?
Budino from Pizza Capo.
Oh.
I love the Budino.
If you could choose a superpower, what would it be?
Oh. Flight? I want to fly.
Okay. Harvest notes, are they digital, handwritten, or just up in your brain?
They're all three of those. It depends on what's near me when I think of something. Sometimes I just have to store it in the brain, try to remember it later. Sometimes I type it out. It really depends. Depends on what I'm looking at.
Yes.
And what else I'm doing. Sometimes I don't have a hand free, That's all three for sure.
Okay.
To the ire of anybody that works with me.
That's fair. Last book you read. It could also be a podcast or Audible or something of that nature.
Last book that I read. It was Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Should I reveal what the wine is?
I feel like I want to have like a guess or two before.
Okay.
I need a.
Oh, you need the white surface to kind of take a look and see.
It's hard to.
And I will say, I would not guess the age of this wine by looking at it. When I look at the color on this, it could easily. It could be a 21. It could be a 19. It could be a 17.
It is. There's a little bit of a color ring that changes there.
A little bit.
Man, I'm gonna think. Because I know how thoughtful you are about this. I'm gonna go on a limb and go with like that it's a 2007 Domaine Serene. I don't know what, but I feel like something like that is something that you would pull out because of my love for 2007 and Tess work at Domaine Serene. Like I know that I'm overthinking it completely, but
you're not too far off.
That's
I did have it 2007.
Oh, this is great! Perfect. I nailed it. 2012, everybody. I was a couple years off, but I do feel like with how this wine is constructed, I feel like I could.
Right.
And I've gotten to drink a lot of it by way of Tess having worked there.
Exactly. So that's why. That was the connection.
That's great. Well, cheers. That's awesome.
Cheers. Thank you. Well, as we finish up here, do you have any questions or anything for me?
No, I just want to say that I think it's awesome what you're doing and bringing awareness to all the things going on in the Valley. I still read your newsletter every Saturday morning with coffee, and it's nice to, with the amount of like travel I've been doing for, trying to support sales. It's a nice thing to read on a Saturday morning after I've been on the road and think about all the things that are going on here. Because I think we forget that often, it's really important, for that sense of community, And so just thank you for doing that. I mean, I think it's an awesome thing, and it's great to get to see it every week.
Yeah.
And the podcast as well. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I enjoy doing it.
Do you want to taste either of these wines? Do we need to hurry? Are we in a rush?
No, we're not in a rush.
If you'd like to, we could taste them. We could taste both of them if you like.
How about, can we revisit the Temperance Hill?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I tasted that in a sample.
Yeah, like 2 years ago or so.
Yes.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, that was really fun when you came up, and we walked around the vineyard. Oh, not that one. Let me start some rumors with you. What are your big plans in the future? While I get this open.
So my big plans in the future, I just launched a reservation system.
Okay.
Called Block 55. And so the whole point behind it is trying to provide a service, to the wineries out there that can't afford, $150, $250 a month for a robust, good reservation system. And so with Block 55, having the ability to provide digital hospitality right from the get-go is the utmost of importance, and also having it be affordable and crazy easy to use.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very good. I think that's something that would be very well received. The amount of back and forth that it takes to get someone somewhere at a certain time that they want to come is
hard.
As a person who is,
Doing that.
only one of the few people in our company,
Right.
It's such a hard thing to you want to be timely with your responses. You want to be, you also want to be there. It's hard to be. It's hard for me to plan because people are coming and I'm maybe gone, or it's just a difficult thing to do.
It is a difficult
And to have an entire human that just does it is incredibly expensive, and we're not there yet. But
Right.
someday. So all right, cool. Well, maybe we'll have to try it out.
Yeah. I'll gladly see if I could help in any way.
Cool.
The nose on this is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
You get some of those amazing bright red fruits. I love that.
Yeah, I find this one, Temperance Hill is such a unique site already,
Right.
And so many winemakers make wine from there. It's a really cool thing to get to be part of that. A lot of people that I've idolized, make wine from this site. So it's really amazing to be able to do it. Also, It's really, really cool. Do you remember back from your barrel tasting?
I don't vividly remember, but I will say this is absolutely delicious. This is it. I think Tess would very much approve of this one. And what you get on the mid palate is just that silkiness. All those tannins are nicely integrated, and that finish just keeps going and going and going.
That's great.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I was just hoping for not worse than the first time.
There are some times that I can remember, but there are times that it's so hard to keep every little wine. Oh
yeah, we always say it at the you're making notes for your future self. It's never really.
Exactly.
I'm going to write myself a letter to my future self so I can remember this thing, because it's very hard to do.
It is very hard to do, but this is a gorgeous wine. I remember when you were telling me about this wine, you're like trying to get the fruit, and you finally got the phone call, and it's like, hey, it's available, and if I remember correctly, he told you the price, and you're like, oh, I can't really afford it, but I can't pass this up.
Yeah, kind of. It was that way. It was Di had called me and said, I left him a message, and long months before, and he called me back and finally said, hey, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. He was like, first of all, what are you looking for? And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was, I just wanted to get on the list, So when he asked what I was looking for, I didn't have an answer really for him. And he, I worked with Julia Cattrall, and he said, Julia really loves you. And if she loves you, then I love you. And, she told me that you bought fruit last year, speaking of 2020. And those are the type of partners that we want to work with, and so it just happened like that. So I called Chris, and this is how you know that you have a good business partner. I called Chris and told him that I just bought the most expensive fruit, that I could imagine. And he said, that's incredible. And we had no money, so Chris got on our mailing list and pre-sold a bunch of it so that we could pay for the grapes.
Nice.
So it was like one of those things where he is excited that we had the opportunity and excited that I took it.
Right.
And then we figured it out, And I think that's been a big piece of our relationship through business and our friendship is like we both are committed to getting to the end goal of like having our own place, doing our own thing, building a business that's going to last forever. And when those types of opportunities come up, you just have to say yes to them. And now we have, an acreage contract there and it's awesome. I mean, it's like on top of like getting to farm and ask die questions is, those are the pretty remarkable things. Having access to people that have more information than you, and are willing to share it is a special thing that I think, really comes through in the Oregon community.
I couldn't agree more.
So,
yeah. Well, thank you again so much for your time.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
It's always great to pull a cork and share a couple of minutes with you. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me on this flavorful voyage through the world of wine on the Weinnotes Podcast. I've been your host and guide, AJ Weinzettel, and it's been an absolute pleasure sharing these captivating stories with you. But alas, like the last sip of a fine vintage, our time together must end. But don't fret, my wine-loving friend. The cellar doors of the Weinnotes Podcast will always remain open, waiting for you to return and explore new conversations, stories, and musings from the captivating people behind the magical world of wine. Before you go, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and don't forget to leave a sparkling 5-star review to help spread the word. Until our glasses clink again, remember to savor life's moments and let the spirit of wine and camaraderie linger on your palate. Cheers, and as always, may your wine glass be full, your heart be light, and your journey